Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to yesterlore number 37. It's been a while since I've said the number we're on. We are continuing with Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. This is our third session reading it tonight. And we are near the beginning of Fitt 2. We started it last time. Fitt 2 of 4. And what we are doing today is we're going to just continue on and see how far we get. Before we start, though, I wanted to talk about sort of the plans for the stream in the coming weeks. So for the next 2 weeks, there will not be a stream. We're going to take a break for the winter holiday. I'm going to be traveling. And we will come back in January to finish Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, which is all very seasonally appropriate because this story is starting at sort of Christmas time, New Year. We read that before, and the rest is happening the next year. I'll recap where we are before we start reading. So that's all very seasonally appropriate for us to be reading it and taking a little bit of a Christmas, New Year, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever holiday or lack thereof you celebrate. Just taking a break for the winter. So, or summer if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. Hi, everyone in the Southern Hemisphere. So, what we... and then we'll come back and finish Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. And I haven't announced this yet, but I think after Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, we're going to take a break from yesterlore for a while. There's going to be a bit of a hiatus. I do not know how long it will last, but there's going to be sort of a period of no yesterlore for a while. I will still be doing project streams. Tomorrow will be, I believe, our last Northumbrian rune poem project stream, because I will have, by the stream tomorrow, finished my translation adaptation project, and we're just going to go through what I've done in the past week and get to the end, and then it just needs to be edited, and then the North Sea poet can fit that into their upcoming book, so that's exciting. So project streams will continue. Tomorrow will be our last one of that. We are taking a hiatus for 2 weeks for that as well. There will just be no streams from Grimm's Lair for 2 weeks. In January, though, we'll continue those. Sir Gawain and the Green Knight will continue. Then Sir Gawain and the Green Knight will end, and there will be no yesterlore for a period of as yet indeterminate length. But project streams will continue. I will be doing some other projects on Saturdays in that same sort of time slot of noon to 1:30, or maybe it'll go back to 2. It'll depend on my schedule. But for now, it's noon to 1:30. So that is the plan for upcoming streams. I just wanted to announce that at the beginning. I'll give a brief reminder at the end of the stream as well. But let us get back into Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. So what's happened? In Fitt 1, we had a Yuletide celebration. It was Christmas and the New Year. All of that sort of part of the 12 days of Christmas. But it was sort of in the thick of that, and there needed to be some kind of spectacle or marvel to happen in order for King Arthur to be ready to eat his food. And so that happens because the Green Knight, he is green, his clothes are green and gold, and his horse is green and dressed in green and gold. And we get a lot of detail about what he's wearing. He comes in and challenges a knight. Well, first he challenges Arthur. He challenges Arthur to a game. And the game is, you get to strike me on the neck, and then in a year's time I will strike you back on the neck. And Sir Gawain steps forward and says, hey, let me do it. I'm just a young, untested knight, and you're King Arthur, so let's not have you lose your head, please. And so Arthur permits him to do it, and he chops the Green Knight's head off, and the Green Knight just picks it up and tells him from his decapitated head, meet me in a year, and a day at the Green Chapel. And Sir Gawain's like, where the heck is that? And he's like, good luck finding it. So then we had some, at the very end of last time, some nice seasonal descriptions, a beautiful description of the spring, and then the summer, and then the onset of fall. And now Michaelmas came, and then we are at All Saints. Whoops. I don't know how that happened. We're at All Saints now, and he still hasn't left. We're sort of beginning of November, so it's getting close when he's supposed to go. And he's going to set off now. So that's what we're reading. The very last thing that happened was all of the other knights were grieved to see him leave. They were all sort of feeling like sad about it. So that is what we are going to be doing now. So let's just continue on. We read that last stanza. I'll kind of scroll up to show you what it was, what that was about. So we read this. We're still reading from the Ernest J.B. Kirtlan translation that's going with the edition that we're reading. I'm not reading the Kirtlan translation, but you can take a look at it after I read the Middle English stanzas. I'll scroll down to it. So we're going to go ahead and continue. So I'll read the stanza and then we'll sort of pause and talk about what happened. So, He dowelets der alfa die and dresses on the morn, askes early his armes and alle were thy brocht. Fyrste tul tapet ticht over the flat, mitje wats the gild gere that glint there aloft. The stiff man steppets thereon and the stelle hondeles. Dubed in a doublet of a dere tars. And sithen a crafty Cappados closed aloft, that with a bricht blauner was bounden within, thinne set thigh the sabatons upon the segge fotis, his layes lapped in stel with luflich greves, with pollenes pitched thereto policed full kleine, about his knees knagged with knottes of gold, queme quisuis, then that cointlich closed, his thick throwen thuyes with thwangus to thatched. And sithen the brouden brinne of brichtstel ringes, unbeweved that we upon lonk stuffa, and well bornest brasse upon his bolde armes, with gode couters and guy and gloves of plata, and all the godlich gere that him gain shoulder, that tida with riche coat armure his gold sporets spend with prida, gurda with a bronze full sura, with silk sign by his sida. So what we're getting here is a description of what he is wearing. I think I've said this before, maybe I haven't in the actual stream, but this guy can give the writer of My Immortal a run for whoever they were, money. The writer of My Immortal, the famous Harry Potter fanfic. Loved to give detailed clothing descriptions, so does this poet. Sorry, I just realized that the English, the modern English, is cut off a bit, so I just needed to adjust that a bit. So, he's wearing some fantastic get-up here. You can look at the details here if you want to pause and read this part. And he's got his armor and his swords and everything's ready to go, as is his horse. So we're going to get a little bit more description of that. Get ready for more description of clothes. So, when he was haspiden armes his harness was richer, celeste latchet over a lope lamed of gold. So harnessed as he was, he herknes his master, offered and honored at the heia outer. Sithen he comes to the king, and to his court fares, latches lovely his levat lordes and ladies, and thigh him kissed, and conveyed bekende him to Christ. Be that wats grimgolet graith, and gorde with a saddle, that gleamed full gaily with money gold fringes. I where nilet full nue for that not riched. The bridle barred about with bricht gold bonden, the apparel of the paitrura and of the proude skirtes. The cropora and the coverture accorded with the arsones, and all what's riled on red rich golden isles, that all glittered and glent as gleam of the sun. Then hentes hath a helm, and hastily hit kisses. That was stapled stiffly and stuffed within. It was here on his head, hasped behind, with a lichtly frison over the aventile, embroidered and bonden with the best gemmes. On broade silken board and briddes on semes, as papiais pinted perving between, tortors and trollofes entiled so thick, as money border about had been 7 winter in tone. The circle was moro pris, that umbeklipped his crown of diamantes a devis, that both were bricht and brown. Okay, so he's all decked out. We've talked about that. But then they've got to go to mass. You can't forget that part before you leave. And a blessing. And his horse, like I said before, his horse is all geared up. His horse's name is Gringolet, by the way. There's some scholarly debate about like what, if anything, this means, what it might be related to. I've seen at least one scholar whose name escapes me at this moment, saying that this may or may not be related to the boat of Wade, the sailor figure, who is probably rooted in the heathen deity Wada, father of Wayland. But yeah, some people have said that the name of this horse may or may not be related to the name of his boat, because of rough, sort of, almost similar sound. It's not quite clear, and the etymology of this is not quite clear. But in any case, his horse is geared up as well. We get some more of his clothing, the horse's clothing, and then they're off on their way. Well, not quite. We have a little bit more, and then they're off on their way. His shield is going to get talked about, and that's kind of important. So, then they showed him the shield that was of sheer goldless, with the pentangle. I just realized I should probably scroll up here for a little bit more, in case you need to pause it and read. I'll kind of try to remember to go more slowly through this modern English part. Okay, let's go back to where it was. Then I showed him the shield that was of sheer goldless, with the pentangle depinted of pure gold hues. He brides hit with the hobber, the bodrik, about the halskestes, that besemet the sege, semlely fire, and hui the pentangle appendes to that prince noble. I am intent jo to tell, thof tari hit me shoulder. It is a signa that Solomon said some huila in betokning of troth, betitla, that hit habits. For it is a figure that haldes 5 pointes, and each line umbelapes and locus in other, and I where it is emdeles and English hit callen. Overall, as he heareth the endless knot, for thee hit accordes to this knecht and to his clear armes, for I faithful in fever and sere fever sides, gawain what's for gode knawen, and as gold pured, voided of each villainy with virtuous enorned, in mota, forth the pentangle newer he bear in shield and cota, as tulk of tal most true, and gentlest knecht of lot. Alright, so we get his shield, and his shield has a pentangle on it. Let me open in another window, because it usually is a problem when I try to open in the same window. a picture of what that looks like if you don't know what a pentangle is. Things I forgot to do before the stream. Okay. There's a band called Pentangle, but that's not what I'm looking for. Okay. Is a transparent vector image that I am not able to copy and paste for some reason. Okay. There we go. Okay. This is a pentangle. You may have seen it before. Ignore my little ad block tracking thing. Okay, so this, we often call this a pentagram, but it's a pentangle because it has 5 angles. And that is what is painted on Sir Gawain's shield. Why? And the poet tells us it's a symbol of Solomon. It represents truth. Where is it? Trouth. Yeah. Which could be truth, could also just be faith. As its name doth show, that is not very clear to anyone. But it has 5 points, and that's significant. 5 is a significant number. So that is on his shield. Let us continue. First he was funded faultless in his fever wittis, and eft filed never to freken his fever fingers, and all his affiance. Sorry, I need to drink some water. Upon folder was in the fever wonders, that Christ kacht on the cross, as the crede tell us. And wheresoever this mon in Meliwat's stad, his throw thought what's in that burg alle other things, that alle his forceness he fong at the fever joyous, that he hende heaven quene had of her children. Her childe. Sorry, I just did Old English autocorrect there. At this cause the knecht komliche hadde. In the inore half of his shelde her image depinted. That when he blushed thereto his belde never pired, and the 5th fever that he finde that the freck used, what's franchise and fellowship forbe all thing. His clannes and his courtesy crooked were never, and pity that passes alle pointes to pure fever, were harder happed on that hadel than on any other. No all these fever seethes, for so they were feltled on this knecht, and uchona halched in other that none ende hadde, and fitched upon fever pointes that filed never. Ne samned never in no side ne sundred nother, without an ende at any noka I where finde. Wherever the gomen began, or glowed to an ende, therefore on his shene shelde sharpen what's the knot. Really with red gold upon red goles, that is their pentangle with the peplicalde with Laura. No greithed his gowan guy, and lacked his lons richt thore, and gave him all gold die, he wende forevermore. Okay, so what's happened? We just get some more description of the sort of imagery of the 5. And we get a description of his virtues. The 5 is connected to the 5 wounds of Christ. So that's giving more reasons for the 5. And then we have his virtues, his frankness, his fellowship, all the other things he excels at, despite his untestedness as a warrior that he pointed out last time. So that's what we really got. Nothing much has happened. He's just got his weapons and his shield, and he's ready to head off. He went off. Went forevermore, that's what it says here. He wende forevermore. He's headed off, finally. He spared the stead with the spurs and sprung on his way. So stiff that the stone for stroke out thereafter. All that say that semly seeked in hert, and side sovely, all same seges till other. Karande for that comely bekrist hit his skade. That thou leved shall be lost that art of life noble. To find his fair upon folde in faith is not either. Warlocker to have rocht had mare wit bene, and have dicht yonder, dere a duke to have worded. Alone the leather of ladies in London him well seems, and so had better have been than Britain to nocht. Had it with an alvish mon for anger dispreed, ho no ever any king such counsel to take, as knichtes and cavalons on Christmas gamnes, well much what's the warm water for a waltered of Ian. When that semly sire soth fro tho ones that dia, he mad non abode, but wichtly went his way, money wilsome, why he rode, the book as he heard the sigh. Okay, so he heads on, and it's just giving more superlatives to him. Everyone is just wowed by him, and they're all just being like, "Wow, what a great guy! Shame he's gonna go die." And we get that the Green Knight is called an elvish man, alvish mon. So we heard him, I think, compared to like some kind of pagan deity before. Now here he's being called an elf, an elvish man, in arrogant pride. So they're like, he's great. Shame we're losing him, because of course he's gonna go get his head hit with an axe. And we'd expect that to mean he's going to get his head chopped off. So, let's continue. No readest this rank through the realm of Logres, Sir Gawain on golde halve thas him no gomen thocht. Oft loudless alone he lenges on nichtes, there he von the nacht him before the fare that he leaked. Had he no fare but his folle befrides and dones, ne no gomme but God begate with tokarp, till that he naked full noche in the north Wales. Alle the eles of Angersay on lift halve he haldes, and fares over the fordes be the forlandes, over at the holy head till he had eft bank, in the wilderness of Wirale, wonde there but lite. But over God, overgome, with gold hert loved, and I he frinded as he fared at frekest that he met, if thy had heard any carp of a knicht grene, in any ground thereabout of the grene clappel, and I nicked him with nigh that never in her live that saye never no saye that was of such hues of grene, the knicht took gattes strange, in mony a bonk unbene, his cheerful oft con change, the chapel he micht sene. So, now Sir Gawain is going throughout the realm, and Logres, if you're not familiar, is a word for, it's usually used for all of Arthur's kingdom, especially in the sort of canon where he's taken over not just England, but most of France and even Rome. He beats Rome in a lot of stories too. Takes over Rome. So, Logres is just the Arthur's empire, is what that usually means. Though no game he thought it. It's not a game, even though this is for a game. He's taking things seriously here. And he's all alone, and he's traveling. He goes to North Wales, Isle of Anglesey on his left. He goes forward into Wirral, and he's asking people, have you seen a green chapel? Have you heard of this Green Knight fellow? And everyone's like, nope, haven't heard of him. That sounds weird. Good luck. So, I'm going to go a bit more slowly here. You can pause if you need to catch up and read that, and we're going to continue. Okay. Mone cliffe over clambe in contre strange, Verfloten fra his frendes fremmedlige rides, at ikke warde of other water verthe wie passed. He fonde få him before båt fairly hit were, and that so fola and so fella that fect him beholder. Få money marvile, bemont verthe mon findes. Hit were totora for to tell of the $10, some wheeler with wormes he weres and with wolves als. Some wheeler with wodwas that wanted in the knarres. Both with bulles and bears on boris over wheeler. And ernest that him anelede of the heie fella. Nade he ben duchti and drichten had served. Doubtless he had been dead and drepped full ofte. For where wrathed him not so much that winter was worse, when the cold clear water fro the clothes schaden, and fres hit falle micht to falle earthe, and ners line with the slete he slept in his ernest. Mo nichtes den inocha in naked rockes, there is clatterande fro the crest, the cold born ernest, and henged heie over his head in hard xxxvii. Thus in peril pine and plittes full harde be contra caires, this knicht till Christmasse even, alle ohne, the knicht well that tide, to marry man, made his mona, that ho him read to rida, and wisse him to some wona. Okay, so this is detailing, I'm going to put that in quotes, so we don't really get many details, but it's sort of listing off his travels. He has adventures. He fights dragons and wolves. He fights wood wolves. And there's some scholarly debate about how to translate that or what that refers to. And there's some sort of problematic use of it documented as well. We also get, where was it? Bulls and bears and boars. Where are they? Yeah, and here it says, and with monsters. What we get here in the actual text here is an etinus, which seems to be perhaps the word for giant. Here. From Old English eten, the West Saxon form, which is not attested, or euten, as it's attested in other dialects like Mercian and other dialects of Old English. This seems to come from the West Saxon, but its vowel is kind of weird, though. Etinus is kind of a weird form of it. It might be a learned borrowing from Old English, like they read it in Old English or something. We're not sure. But that seems to be what it's referring to, giants, there. Yeah, he's fighting all sorts of things of the wild. They attack him from the high mountain, and the association of giants and mountains is really well attested throughout northwestern Europe, really. Probably beyond that as well. So he has these adventures. He almost dies, and then it gets cold. There's icicles. These are the icicles. It's two different Old English words. Is is ice, and yikel is, or yichel, depending on the dialect, is an icicle. So it's an icicle. And that's where the word icicle comes from. And so he is having a rough go until Christmas Eve happens. And he to marry made his mona. He to marry made his, this is where we get the word moan from. He makes his sort of cry, his lament, his call for help, to help him find somewhere to hide, like somewhere to be safe for Christmas, because it's Christmas, you know. It's Merry Christmas, Merry better help. So, be a mountain to morn merrily herides, into a forest full deep, that fairly was wilda. Hie helles on each halva and a holt wodes under, of horror oakes full hoga, 100 together. De hazel en de hagthorne were harles allsamen. With roge ragged mosse railed eichware. With money bredes, unbliede upon bare twiges. Dat pitosliether peeped for pin of the kolde. The gomme upon gringolet glides hem under. For money misi, an mirre mon all him one. Karande for his costes, lest he ne kewer schulde. To sethe servi of that sire, that on that self nicht. Of a borde was born, ore barret to quella. And therefore seeking his side is beseech his side, each beseech the Lord, and Mary that is mildest mother, so dere, of some herbor, der heili imicht her massa, and the matines to morna mekeli I ask, and there to presli I pray mi pater and ave, and crede. He rode in his prayer and cried for his misdede, and signe him in side sera and side cross Christ mispeda. Okay, so on Christmas morning, he's still riding, he's still having a really rough time, he's on his horse, and he prays, he calls out to the Lord and Mary. He says, please, give me somewhere to rest and have Christmas Mass, like do my prayers, I need to do my Pater, my Our Father, and I need to do my Ave Maria, my Hail Mary, and my Creed. He needs to do those three things, and then he's golden, so he's like, please, let me pray to you, give me somewhere to stay, please. So, nade his highness himself psege but three. He was warrant the word of a one in a motor. Above a lound of a lower loken under bogus, of money borrelich bola abote bethe ditches, a castle the comlokest that ever knicht achte, pitched on a prior a park alla bote, with a picked palace pinned full thick, that umbetege money tre, more than 2 mile, that holde on that onside, the hadder avised, as it shemmered and shone through the sheer ockes. Then had he hendly on his helm and heikly he thunkes, Jesus and sai Gillian, that gentil arbotha. No, sorry. Jesus and sai Gillian, that gentil arbotha, that courteously had him kida on his cree herkned. No bona hostel kova the burna I beseche jo a jeta. Then negederes heto gringolet with the yilt helles, and he full chancely had chosen to the chef gata, that brucht bremli te burna and the brige ende in haste. The brige was breme op bride, the gates were stocken faste. The walles were well arrayed, it doet no windes blaste. So he did the sign of the cross 3 times, and then his prayer is answered. He finds himself upon a castle. He just finds a castle in the woods. And so he goes up to it. It's beautiful. It's shining. It's marvelous. And so he thanks Jesus and St. Gillian. And because they both helped him. And he says, give me a good place to stay. And he goes up to the place, and they let him in. Wait, no, they haven't let him in yet. Sorry, I got confused for a second. Yeah. God, we're still confessed. Yeah. So the bridge is up, and the gates are closed. Sorry, I was going ahead because that's going to happen again. But the gates are closed. The bridge over the moat that he sees is raised, so he can't cross. So we're going to get that. Yeah, let's go to the next stanza. Oh, you know what? I should link something in the comments, I think. Or not the comment, the description. I'm trying to see if I can find a good link that explains this. I will find it after the stream. He prays to Saint. So he prays to Jesus and he prays to Saint Julian. I was trying to figure out if I wanted to actually go into Saint Julian, but I'm just gonna link in the description some stuff about Saint Julian if you're not familiar with him. So just look at that on the YouTube channel if you are curious about that. It will also have the link to this edition that we're reading here right now. So that's where you'll find that. All right, so let's move on. The borna boda on bonk that on blonk hovid. Of the deep double ditch that drove to the plaza. The wally wood in the water wonderly deep, and the efter full hygge hecht, hit hallet upon lofte, of harde hewen stone up to the tables, and banded under the battlement in the best lawer, and sitten garitas full gaia garred between with money lovlich lopa that looked full kleine, and better barbican that borne blushed upon never. And in a morgen, he beheld that halle full hie, tore teldet between a trochet full thick. Fire filioles that feed unfairly long. The coron coprones craftly slayer, chalk with chimneys that chess he inoche, upon bastel roves that blinked full quite. So money pinnacle pinted what's powdered iquera. Among the castle carnels clambered so thick, that parted out the papure purely hit samid, that the frey freka on the fall hit fire in uche thocht, if he micht kever to come the cloister within, to a herber in that hostel where holiday lasted, avenant. He called an son there kom, a porter pur pleasant, on the wall his errand he noma, and heilsed the knecht errant. So, he is sitting on his horse looking at the castle. We get some more description of what the castle looks like, and he's just sort of marveling at the castle. And then this sort of porter guy comes up and says hello. He hailed the knight. He heilsed the knecht errant, the errant knight. So, what happens? Go de sir, quoth Gawain, woldest thou go min errand to the high lord of this house Herbert to Crava? Ye Peter, quoth the porter, and purely I trow ye, that ye be we welcome to one quill yo likes. Then ye did the wiga again Swede, and folke freely him with to fonga the knecht, that let down the great dracht and derily out jeden, and knelle down on her knees upon the cold earth, to welcome this ilk week as a worthy home thought. Thy golden him the brode rata garked up wieder, and he him rised reckonly and rode over the bridge. Ser seges him seized besaddle quell he lichte. And sitten stablet his stay the stiff men in oche. Knechtes and suieres, komen down then, for to bring this borne with bliss into halle. When he hef up his helm, there he yed in oche, for to hent it at his hand the hende to serven. His brand and his blazon both thy token. Then heilsed he full handly for haveles uchana, and money proud man, there presed that prince to honor. Alle hasped in his hege wede, to halle thy him wonnen. There fire fear upon flet versely brenned. Then the lord of the lady lotus fro his chambre, for to mete with mens get him on the floor. He said, ye are welcome to welde as your likes. That here is all is your owen, to have at your will, and welde. Grant mercy, quoth Gawain, der Christ hit you for yelde, as frekes that semed fine, either other in armes confelde. Okay, so, Gawain asks, please let me in. Will you please go to your lord and ask him if I can stay? And the porter says, yeah. I know you're going to be welcome. Like, I don't even need to ask. But he does go and ask. And then he lets the door down, and they lower the bridge, and he comes in, and they shut the bridge again. And he gets to meet all the people inside. There's knights and squires and everyone inside, and he says hello to all of them. And then the Lord comes, and he says, you are welcome. Notice here that the Lord in the English translation says, thou art welcome to do as it liketh thee. All that thou findest here is thine own, to do with it as thou willest and to possess. But that's not what it says in the Middle English. He says, ye are welcome to welda as yo likes. That here is all your awen to have at your willa and welda. So he's using ye here, which is the plural. Which is not what Gawain used for the porter, but it is what the porter used for Gawain. So at this period in English, we have the introduction of TV distinction, which exists in French, where you use the second-person singular pronoun, which in Old English is thu, which is tho here in Middle English, which we see as thou here and thee. And we see the same discrepancy here. It says thou that the porter says, but the porter does not say thou. The porter uses ye. The plural is ye and you. Singular is thou and thee. And in this period, that sort of use of you, or ye is the subject form, which is the plural, for one person, is entering into English. That was not really a thing in Old English, but it is a thing in Middle English from French influence. So, or at least that's most people think it is French influence that leads to that, or that led to that in Old English, because that wasn't a thing before. So Sir Gawain is using thou with the porter, probably because he's clearly someone who works for the castle, and the porter uses ye for Gawain because he seems to be a knight. We read about how well dressed he was and stuff. He has been on some harrowing adventures, but he has a horse and seems to be a knight, so he's probably of higher status, even if he looks a little raggedy from his trip. And likewise, the lord of this castle uses ye with Gawain, probably as a form of respect. He, again, seems to be a knight, and also a stranger. He's not one of his servants, and they don't know each other that well yet, so he's going to use ye, and Gawain uses ye back. He says, "There Christ hit yo for Yelda." He uses you here. Yo, you. So he doesn't say, "May Christ always thee bless." He says, "May Christ bless you for Yelda." This verb for Yeldan is, for Yeldan here, is to bless or to give blessings to. It could also be used in earlier times for to give an offering. All right, let's continue. One thing I haven't been checking for, I'm wanting to check for, but I haven't seen it yet, is the fitt break. I don't think we're in fitt 3 yet. Okay, anyways. Gawain says thanks. That's what we had last. God, Christ bless you. So, Gawain glicht on the goma that godly him great, and thought hit a bold borna that the burg achte, a hoge hadal for the nones of a hie elde. Brode bricht was his berder and all bever hued. Storna stiff on the stritha on stalworth schonkes. Felle fasa as the fear and frey of his speche, and well him semid for soda as the seke ducht. To leda a lordship in lay of loudest full gode. The lorde him chared to a chambre and closely commandes, to deliver him a lay with him lochly to serve. And there were bone at his bode borne sinocha, that brought him to a bright bora and their bedding what's noble, of cortines of clean silk with clear goldes hemis, and covertures full curious with comlich panas, of bright blonmer above embroidered besides, rudeles renande on ropes red gold ringes, tapetes teeth to the water of tully and tars, and under fet on the flat of folgande sute. There he was despoiled with speech of mirth, the born of his brunny and of his bricht wedes. Riche robes full rade, rinkes hem brochten, for to charge and to change and chose of the best, sona as he on hint and happest therein, had set on him semly with salande skirtes. They were that were of his visage verily het semed, well nech to each hadel alle on hiwes, lovande and lofely alle his limbs under, that the komdokker knicht never Christ made hem thocht, whethen in worlde he were het semed as he micht. The prince without en pera, in velde ter felle men ficht. So, you might think back to when the Green Knight came into the hall. We sort of got like a movie, like, I don't know, like a 90s, 2000s rom-com like sweep of what the Green Knight was wearing. After we had gotten Queen Guinevere's description and we got that Gawain was sitting next to her, then we get eventually the Green Knight and everything he's wearing and everything his horse is wearing. Vivid detail. What we have here is Gawain looks at the lord of this castle. He glicht on the goma. Looked at the man, and we get a long description of what he looks like and what he does and what the place looks like. Sort of how nice this place is. And they bring Sir Gawain into new chambers, and they change his clothes, give him new awesome clothes. Again, we get more clothes. This poet loves describing clothes. And they are gonna talk. So, let's see what they have to talk about. I'll go slowly over this one more time, in case you need to pause for reading the translation. And let's continue. Okay. A chair before the chimney their charcoal brenned. What's grided for Sir Gawain grively with clothes, huisiness upon quell the pointes, the coint were both. And then a merry mantle was on that mon cast, of a brown bleont embroidered full rich, and fire furred within, with felles of the best. All of ermine in erde his hold of the same. And he set in that settled semlich rich, and the chowed him chiefly, and then in his chair mended, sona was held up a tappet on trestes full fire, clad with a clean clothe that clear quit shewed, sun up and salure, and silveren spunnes. The weeke wish at his will and went to his mate, seges him served semly enoche, with sere sewis and sette sezonde of the best. Doble feldes at his falles, as it falles, and fele kind fishes. Summa bakken in bread, summa brad und gledes. Summa southern, summa in sewis savored with spices. And I saw it so sleges that the segje liket, the frekke kalde hit a fest full frele and ofte, full handily quen alle the haveles rehited him at honest as hinde. His penance no ye take, and eft hit shalamende, that mon much mirth con make, for a win in his head that wende. Okay. So, he gets in a nice chair, and he gets even more nice clothes put on him. He's got a nice cloak on with fur, and it's ermine lining, and it's great. He's all cozy, snuggled up in a nice chair, and then they bring food to him. It's well cooked, well seasoned. He's got good bread. He's got all sorts of delicious stuff. And he's getting to hear nice speeches, as Arthur would expect at this kind of an event. He gets to hear some stories. A full noble feasting. The man called it when those edlings cheered him as friends. So, this penance now you take, and you shall make amends. So, he is getting to relax after his arduous journey. Sorry, I'm just looking ahead real quick, because I'm trying to find where the fitt ends. Thought it was coming up. I was hoping to finish fitt 2, but I'm not sure if we're going to get to do that today. Sort of be halfway-ish between. Unless we're already in fitt 3. I don't think we are, though. Okay, where were we? We were here. Okay, let me scroll over this in case you want to pause and read the modern English in full, and then we will continue. I think I can only do one more stanza in terms of time. Let's see, maybe I can do 2. Okay. Then what speden spurren upon Sparawisa. Be preve pointes of that prince put to himself, that he became courtesy, courteously of the court that he were, that other Arthur he the hende haldes him on. That is the rich real king of the round table, and his what it was Wowen himself that in that one sitteth. Coming to that Christmas as cause him then limped. When the Lord had learned that he they lived haved, Lode lached he thereat so left hit him thought, and alle the men that mote malden much joy to appear in his presence. Presley that time, that all prisen prowess and purity thewis, appendes to his person and prized is ever. Before alle men upon molde his menneskeste most, uch sege full softly side to his fere. No shall we semlich se slechtes of thewis, and se slechtes of thewis, and the tetchless termes of talking noble, which speda in his specha unspurred my way lerna. Sin we have fonged that fine father of nurtura, God has given was his grace godly for solve. That such a guest as gawain grountes was to have, when bornes blithe on of his bortha shall sit and sing in meaning of mannerless mere. This born no shall us bring, and hope that my him here shall learn of love talking. Okay. So they started asking him questions, and they find out who he is. He's a knight of the round table. He's been sent on this mission, and they're like, whoa. He tells them, like, wait, has that happened yet? Let me look ahead. Yeah, so they ask him, why are you here? And he explains. You can read exactly what happens. Here, I'm slowly scrolling here for you. But they are just kind of wowed by Gawain. I think we can do one more. Be that the dinner was done and the dere up, it was nicht that the nicht naked bit Fatima claplined to the chapeles chosen tegata, Rungen full richelig richtas deg skjulden. To the hersum evensong of the hige tide, the Lord the lotus der tånte ladi alls, into a comely closet, cointly ho entres, gawain glides full guy and goes theder sona. The Lord latches him, be the lapa and ledes him to sitte, and cothly him knowes and calles him his nome, and side he was the welcomest weege of the world, and he him thunked throwly, and either halted other, and setted soberly sammen the service quille. Then list the laddie to look on the knecht. Then come ho of her closet, with money clear borders. Ho was the firest in fellow of flesh and of leader, and of compass and color, and costes of all other. And winner than winora, as the weege thought. He chased durch the chancel to church that hende, and other laddie her lad be the lift honde, that was alder than ho an onsen hit samed, and hegli honored with hadelis abota, but unleak unto the locketh o ladies were. For if the younger was yep yolge, what's that other? Richer on that unriled eichwere, ruch ronklid checkes that other unrolled. Kerchof is of that on with money clear Paris, her breast and her bricht throat bare displayed, shone sheared than snawa that shedder on hilles. That other with a gorger was gerred over the swire, chimbled over her black chin, with milk wheat violets, her front folded in silken fobled eichwere, torret and trelleted with trifles about. That nocht was bar of that borde bot the blacke broches, the twaine ien and the nase the naked lippes. And those were sore to say and sellily bledded, and mens claddy on moldemon my her calla for gode. Her body was short and thick, her buttock is by and broad, more liquor was on to lick. What's that show had a unload? Okay, so dinner ends, and it's time to go to chapel since it's Christmas. Christmas means you have to go to church. And so he gets led, and the Lord and he and the Lord meet in church, and he sees the lady of the castle. And we get a description of what she looks like, but she's with an old woman, and we get some contrast. But before we do, we see that to Sir Gawain, she's even prettier than Guinevere, which that's a big deal because we got a description of how she was the loveliest lady at the beginning of the poem. Now he's like, maybe this one is even more beautiful. And we get some description of her, but she's with an old woman, and we get some sort of contrast there. Basically, the lady who's young looks awesome. The older woman who is with her doesn't look so attractive to Sir Gawain. And this is a thing that happens a lot in medieval literature. Unfortunately, we get a lot of, like, young lady, pretty, old lady, ugly, and it's not very exciting or original, but it happens in this poem. So that's what we get, and we do get some, like, where am I trying to, a mens gladi on moldam on my herkala for gode. So even though the older lady doesn't look as beautiful, some people may say she's, like, respectable. She's given honor. She's right next to the lady of the house. She's clearly important. So who could she be? Sort of a mystery. Who's this old lady that is with the lady of the house? And she seems to be important. Yeah. You probably might have picked that up when we were reading the Old English hit, Boltok is by and broda. Yeah. So that's that. All right, we will stop there. We got to line 969 today. So we will pick up from line 970 next time. So Gawain is in this castle that he found in the middle of the woods by happenstance after he prayed. We'll find out what happens next. It's going to get interesting. as we continue. But that will be in January. So if you're not going to be coming to my stream or watching my stream tomorrow, happy holidays, whatever you celebrate, if any. Just have a nice rest of your December. I will be seeing you in January. If you will be present tomorrow, I will see you then, and we will be finishing up the Northumbrian rune poem. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a great whatever rest of your time zone is, and good night.